Sup flappers, welcome to another video, and I understand currently this is going to be a very controversial topic. Not as controversial as what we've been through in the past week, where depending on your stance, you can either get review bombed yourself or you can become like praised by the entire community. No, I'm talking about a different topic. So as you can see in the title, we're talking about tier lists. And I understand that there is a certain reliance to Genshin tier lists since the beginning of this game. Up until now, people's stance on this subject matter has always been, I guess, one or the other. I have used tier lists myself in the very beginning, and as well as made my own tier list. And I get that ranking characters by a certain letter, saying this one is strong, this one's like, it's a very rudimentary and basic way of understanding the game, because the game is not that simple. All right, Genshin Impact is not a simple game. It's simplified heavily and greatly on the surface, but if you dig deep into it, like we got people running their own codes on optimizing different character DPS, and we're just talking about DPS, right? Going even further, we also have application. Of course, Genshin being a game you can play on your computer, on the PlayStation, as well as on the mobile phone. And of course, there's different types of attachments that you can put onto your phones and whatnot. It gets very complicated. Now, why do I even mention this? You guys might be wondering, like, isn't this a tier list video? Yes, it is a tier list video, but I'm telling you guys, as we continue to grow as a community, as there are newer characters coming into this game, tier lists just don't do the game enough justice as they currently are. We need to level them up somehow. All right, so let's jump into the game and I'll show you guys. So we're in the game right now, and these are all the characters that are currently available. So let's say if we use the traditional tier list, right? A character such as Fiona will be ranked closely to Ganyu. Now, not like in the same tier. Maybe she's high A tier and Ganyu is S tier, but this may give newer players an idea that maybe Diona is close to Ganyu in terms of their damage capabilities. It's very confusing, right? One giant tier list is very, very confusing. Now, I've seen people start making sheets with DPS tier lists, support tier list, healer tier list, right? And you can break it down even further into shielder tier lists and stuff like that. But there are main categories and there are subcategories, right? We got main DPS, support DPS, healer, and then we got support. And under main DPS, we can have hybrid DPS, we can have burst DPS, we can have sustained DPS, and so on and so forth. In sub DPS as well, in healers, and finally in supports. The variations in the subcategories is what we are failing to take into account. And a lot of the times I see people arguing, saying a character is S tier, a character is A tier, but at the very end, what even justifies a character to be in the S tier, right? Currently, my understanding is, and I've seen this in other tier lists, right? CN tier lists, they usually go much more into detail and break things down more for people to understand. Because you know what? If a person is playing this game new, they come in, see a tier list, and like, okay, I want to get a 5-star. Oh, let's see the current limited banner. Let's say it's a rerun, right? And then it's Tartaglia, let's say. All right, so Tartaglia, people are going to say, well, this is a great character, right? He's overall very strong. He's a great hydro applicator. He can do great burst damage if you build him for EM. If you want to just make him into a burst machine, that's not going to be on the tier list. You can find that maybe in a select few YouTube videos. You can understand him better. You might be able to try him in the trial runs, and if he has a story going on right now, you're lucky, you'll get to try him through the story as well to pair with your personal teams. But there is so much depth to a character like Tartaglia. Just saying he's like a high A tier unit, for example, you scroll through on the webpage, oh, high A, you know what, I'll take it, sounds pretty strong, looks pretty strong, why not? And then you play him, you're like, wow, he's kind of ass cheeks, you know what I mean? Like, for example, because let's say you're a new player, you just got him at level like 15, AR 15. What are you realistically going to do to pair? How are you going to draw out the power of Tartaglia as a fresh AR 15 player who don't know the role that he fulfills? It just doesn't work. You're going to get bamboozled into pulling for this character. You're going to, well, I don't like him. Right. And it might not be until AR 45 where you're like, wow, I love him. That's just the kind of game Genshin Impact is. There are early game S tiers, and I think there are late game S tiers. It gets way too complicated. So another example is Razor, right? I want to say Razor, if you rank him overall, he's like a high B tier unit if you rank him overall. But if you rank him early game, he is an S tier unit. In the early game, he is so easy to play, hands-on. You build him and he can carry a team of level 1s single-handedly without a problem. But as you get closer into the end game, just better options start to appear because Razor has a lack of compatibility when it comes to late game options, such as he cannot vaporize, he cannot melt, he cannot freeze. Although even in the late game, if you build him up, his single damage by himself is still very great, right? But once you get these limited characters available, let's take a look at Ganyu. Oh wow, Ganyu outranks him easily, both single target and AoE, right? We also got Eula, which even in the same weapon type as him, right? Just being cryo, she already wins. These elemental, I don't even want to get into elements right now because that's just gonna drag me onto an entire tangent, but it definitely affects how characters perform early game and into late game. However, looking back at Razor, how would somebody rank him on a tier list? You would have to put him in overall rank. I would say upper B, lower A. It's a place where Razor currently sits. But as somebody who's just starting the game, they're gonna get misinformed. Like, oh, Razor? Trash. I'm not gonna touch that. Let's see. Let me build Diona instead, right? Let's build Diona instead. She's higher up. She's an upper A tier unit. I'm gonna build Diona as my main character. You guys see where the problem starts? It's that a generalized tier list is not sufficient enough to represent the power of different characters, right? We need to start making tier lists. I even want to say for early game players, for late game players. I don't think mid game really matters as it's a transition period. It's where you experiment yourself with a lot of different things. And I know a lot of different people's stance on tier lists. Some people just like play who you like, play whatever you want. Anyone can beat the game. But if you really honestly play however you like, wherever you want, you can take a team of Diona, Sayu, you can take a team of Amber and Lisa, right? You can take this team and you want to beat the game with it. That's going to be substantially harder. And sometimes for casual players who like to play that way and you can't beat the game, you're struggling, especially on a 6-year-old phone as well, you're going to struggle. Genshin Impact is a game where you need to optimize, you need to be a little smart, you need to take the tools you have and maximize the efficiency out of it. Not everybody can take free-to-play characters and beat the game. Tier lists are a good reference point, but we need to start doing better with them, right? I was Googling a tier list earlier, and look at this, people, right? I was Googling a tier list. This one's literally the first one that popped out, right? I don't even know, like PC games. Okay, so if I was a new player, how would I know what's right and what's wrong? I would have to fully trust this. They have an SS tier. Okay, let's take a look. D-Look. Okay, ka-ching! SS tier in the same tier as Venti. What? Hu Zhao, Bennett, Ganyu, Eula. Okay, Zhao is an S tier. You know, you guys start seeing the problem that I'm portraying here, right? It's very misleading. S tier Zhao, Tartaglia, Klee, Albedo, Kazuha, Ayaka, Mona, Zhongli. Like, Mona is a great example. For somebody who picks up Mona as their first character, I'm like, oh, S tier, let's continue the game with it. You won't know what the hell you're doing with this character. There are people who are AR 56, 57 right now who still ask me, Walrus, can you make a Mona guide? I really don't know how to maximize my damage with Mona. How do you play this character? What does she do? Like, and a lot of the things are not even written into their character kits. And they're asking me, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to go into this character too much because it's a very complex process to take a character from their base state and elevate them, pair them up, try out different synergies, right? Different artifacts. It just gets way too complicated. Just simply saying she's an S tier unit, somebody's gonna get bamboozled by this. All right, got A tier Razor, Jean, blah blah blah. And as we go down, right, you guys see, I know, trust me, I know there are tier lists out there that are very detailed. I've seen them myself. They separate characters into different categories, and even in categories, they write the subcategories of these characters underneath them, right? So let's say you want to build a character. Well, let's say you want to build Bennett. He is a buffer and he is a healer, right? And in that role, he is an SS tier character, for example. But if as a main DPS, and Bennett becomes a sustained DPS, Bennett becomes like a B tier, A tier character. If you evaluate him in that way, different criteria. And I think that's the right way to go. Honestly, I would want to make a tier list like this. I'm going to be live streaming tonight, and I'm going to try to tackle this along with chat. If you guys have the free time, if you guys are curious as to how we're going to do this, I honestly don't know. Let's give it a try and see if we can make a better tier list where both end game players, early game players, they can look at it and benefit from it, because I think this type of information is honestly lost. You would really have to dig deep to find anything of value, and I want to create something like a universal tier list that can help people both early and late game. All right, with that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you guys later in the live stream. I don't know if we're going to succeed, honestly. So if you guys want to see me fail, you can tune in. We'll have to see. All right, till then, urge y'all to stay safe and peace.